What is wrong with Bill Maher? He's almost betraying his own intelligence by parroting the same tired tropes with basically no thought of his own, and this time, well, he actually met a worthy match in Matt Gaetz, who calmly dismantled Bill's empty assertions about a supposed dictator, Donald Trump. Take a look at this and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know you guys like to be like flirting with authoritarianism, but well, let me ask you that question. You're a married man now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and your wife is lovely.
Thank you.
You did well. And okay, so sometimes in a marriage, the couple, I've heard both sides. I've heard couples say, yeah, I'm a big flirt, but it's okay because he knows I'll never cross the line. But so that's just okay in the marriage. That's like they've decided that's okay to flirt, or the guy does it. Then I've heard some marriages where it's like, no, that is crossing the line. Okay, I bring this up because you guys are really flirting with authoritarianism. You know what I mean? He admires...
Like, we didn't try to throw our political prisoners in jail. We talked about it, but we didn't actually try.
Oh, you did try.
We never indicted Hillary. We never indicted our enemies.
Yeah, because they blocked it. But
who blocked it?
The Justice Department. Well, there were actually some people there at the beginning who were a little more fair-minded. I mean, it's not going to be that way in the second term, although that's the job you were up for.
I was, and honestly, I was hoping...
If you had been there in 2016, would you have indicted Hillary?
Only if that's what the facts and the law commanded. I wouldn't have done it as some get back politically, because look, that doesn't end. And what I understand is, if you do that to them and they do that to us, then you don't ever get out of the cycle. And as someone who has held some power, it's a pretty frightening concept that when you get out, the people who take power then can utilize the apparatus of the state to deprive you of your freedom.
I'm not even sure Bill understands what the word dictator even means anymore, and it's now gotten to the point of crying wolf about it. Dictators are defined by much more than being friendly with some foreign authoritarian leader like Putin or Kim Jong-un. They're not removed and then voted back into power by public mandate, and do not actively strive to reduce the size and reach of government like Donald Trump is doing with Doge. Besides, you'll never even hear a word from Bill over the blatantly undemocratic way that the Democrats in this election cycle handed Kamala Harris the nomination on a silver platter with no party primary or Democratic convention. So in the end, is it just about the optics for him? Truth is, Donald Trump is a master troll that knows how to set the media off into a frenzy with remarks like being a dictator on day one, as he said in the campaign. But anyone without political blinders on understands that when you're dealing with a firebrand like Trump, you can't go off of rhetoric alone.
President Trump, there was a lot of concern about this during the campaign. A question that only works today. Are you a dictator on day one?
No. I can't imagine even being called that. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote.
And you know what? If a character like Trump somehow starts to morph into a dictator along with lines of Nicolas Maduro, Vladimir Putin, or Viktor Orban, we'll be the first to call it out, but it's going to take a lot more than empty scaremongering and double standards to make that case against Donald Trump in barely the first week of his presidency.
I reject the premise that we flirt with authoritarianism.
Are you... Come on, man. Seriously? Using every possible lever to stay in office after he lost the election, plainly. Just always being friends with Putin. He likes him. He likes Viktor Orban. Always like pining to be with Team Strongman and not really that, into our allies. You don't think that's flirting with authoritarianism? And if you flirt with it, he also makes jokes about, maybe after this term, if it's so good, we should have another one, which would be, again, an abrogation of the basic tenet of the Constitution, 2 terms. That's flirting. That's flirting. To even make a joke about it is flirting with authoritarianism. My question, like in a marriage, can you just flirt and not cross the line?
Of course.
Yeah, most don't, but okay. I'm telling you, most guys, if they flirt, what they're doing is they're seeing if the girl flirts back. If she doesn't, I was just flirting. If she does, yeah, I'll fuck her.
So you think flirtation only goes as far as your options at that moment?
Well put.
Yeah. Well,
for a man.
I don't get it. Bill still does not have anything concrete other than empty assertions. And thankfully for those of us that understand the U.S. Constitution and system of governance, is way too robust for any one person to supposedly hijack in his favor. America's not the same as a centralized one-party state like China, nor an inherited kingdom like some Middle Eastern states. It's a system where even amending a clause in the Constitution requires control of both the House and the Senate and 3/4 of the US states, and even that would just be the start, apart from the decentralized legal system and checks and balances that are impossible to break. So no one is buying this paranoia, and that leaves one question for Bill Maher that he was still incapable of answering.
I don't believe it's asymmetrical at all. When you look at the way the Democratic Party used an authoritarian bum rush to get Joe Biden out of the race and replace him with Harris, what was it? Was that the great sacrifice to the virtue of democracy and the great rejection of authoritarianism was swapping her out for him like it's some Mississippi Square dance?
Okay. I'm just going to end this part of our discussion by saying, I think I just looking in your eye, talking to you, not the media guy I saw, you're a lot brighter than I thought you were.
Did you think I was not bright?
Yeah.
And what gave you that impression?
Like everything you've said and done. No, and also because the media is but I just never talked to, I could say, and by the way, this is only a semi-compliment because what I'm saying is, I think you're absolutely bright enough to know what I'm talking about. I understand why you have to carry the water for the other side because you are, your career is just beginning. Trump loves you. That's a good thing in this day and age. And so yeah, I get it. I get what you can and cannot say, and we can put that aside. Let's get back to Horde.
See? No answer. That's what Bill doesn't understand. While he's fixated on a few flags in the timeline of recent history, he fails to connect with the pulse of the people's sentiment. Donald Trump is a strongman character, and perhaps there are some parallels that you can draw to such political characters abroad, but that lies in a completely different universe to outright dictators that rule nations with an iron fist and quash any opposition any way they have to. And when you zoom out, perhaps Donald Trump will be remembered more of a reactionary force, especially in this election. It was a reaction that the voters wanted the weakness on the world stage they saw the past 4 years, as well as the damage that a weak leader can do to go away. And the truth is that even peace comes through strength, which is why Matt Gaetz brought up an incredible point next about how you've almost seen a political realignment over the last decade about which party really runs the slogan of being the anti-war party in America.
I think that in Trump's case, he looks at 4 years of a pretty peaceful world. You have to concede that. And when I got elected, the places where I would come in some conflict with Trump would be where he would seek powers of war that I thought were reposed in the Congress. And now, and I had all these Democrats really eager to work with me. No war with Iran. We should stop Trump from having that power. But then, as soon as Biden is cheerleading this war in Ukraine, all the anti-war Democrats became pro-war. There are no anti-war Democrats.
That's the big picture perspective that Bill Maher misses, and I don't think there's any way to convince him unless he steps out and actually meets people on the ground. But tell me in the comments how you see the next 4 years panning out, because ultimately, it's the common citizen and voter that will have to be on guard against any creeping authoritarianism in America, no matter which end of the political spectrum it comes from.